On this edition of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher.
Playing in South Bend, we were ranked pretty high. It turned into the most amazing football game. Like a lot do at Notre Dame. We jumped up and they came back and went to overtime. We're losing. And I ended up scoring the last touchdown in the corner. Getting letters from Nebraska, but they're not really telling you. They offered me a scholarship, I believe, probably about the same time that I was offered a scholarship by Notre Dame and Ohio State. But I had went to all their camps. No, I wasn't stopped. I was only stopped going through security with the Heisman Trophy. Whoa, stop right there. Because it's like a steel box. Looks like I'm dragging a box into the airport. And it was 9/11, so I'm going home.
Oh, gosh.
Right? Yeah. So it's like, whoa, what you got? You know, everyone's on high alert. Next thing you know, you pull out this Heisman Trophy and you're taking pictures with everybody. So get on the plane. You're good. He was a hell of a football player. His name was Tony Finotti. He played with the Chargers and he played a good amount in the NFL, but I just remember the guy was so big. Like he was like, in our when we played Miami in the Rose Bowl in 2001, I walked by, he was weighing himself on the scale and it said like 375. And I was like, man, I knew you were big.
The greatest sports moments happen in seconds, but the stories behind them are timeless. Dive into the mind of the icons who live those moments. No filters, just authentic conversations about the moments that define careers. I'm Justin Kutcher, and this is the Just in Time podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher, joined now by the 2001 Heisman Trophy winner, College Football Hall of Famer, and my first college football analyst when I joined Fox Sports. It is Eric Crouch. Eric, man, it's been so long. It is so good to see you.
That's the same, man. It's been too long. It's just like we're back in the booth, man. This is awesome.
I mean, I think back to that first year. It was 2012, and it was me, you, Darius Walker. And I still have a collage of pictures that we took before every game.
That was fun.
All the poses that we had. It was so much fun.
You probably don't. I don't know if you know this story. You may remember it, but it was like we were calling our first. It was literally my first game. Right? It's West Virginia in Marshall. We're in Morgantown. It's my very first game. I am nervous as all can be, and I know they were going to run some plays fast. But I think you looked over at me after like 3 plays went by, and I didn't say a word. You're like, "Are you even here?" I'm like, yeah, that play right there was a good play. You know, it's just so funny to go from like your very first game to, you know, I probably ended up getting 50 or 60 games in, and, you know, just the difference in the comfort level and how you call a game and the things that you learn. But no, I had a great time, and it's really good to reconnect.
Yeah, man, it's so good. I think back to those days, and it's funny you mentioned that game at West Virginia because that was the first time I'd watched film with my analyst, really. And we went and watched the Rose Bowl that West Virginia had played in, and they beat Clemson. And you've got the clicker and you've got the little like pointer. And you're like, you see this? Like, see what? See the linebacker there? I'm like, now I do, but before that, no. And you're like, what are you watching? I'm like, see the quarterback? See the running back? See the wide receivers? That's
wherever
all
the ball's
I see.
at.
Yeah. And that was my first time getting a peek inside how the quarterback saw the game, how other players see the game. And honestly, like I find it to be one of the most fascinating things, seeing how you guys process the information. And that was my first foray into it.
Yeah, no, I you know, it's, I always liked that part of the game. You know, I mean, if you don't like that part of the game, you're going to be lost on game day. You know, you got to be prepared and got to have a game plan. And it was very similar to how we prepared for, you know, what we were doing in the booth. It's like, okay, here's what you're probably going to see most likely. And, you know, you kind of go that route and just make sure that, you know, you're looking for things that are, you know, things that you're likely going to see, or try to create some type of a matchup that, you know, to anticipate, you know, this offense is going to do this. Can they stop it with this style defense? And, you know, it early on, that was hard for me to kind of build that story. I think later I understood it, and it made sense. It made sense. So that became the fun part of calling a game.
I think also that year I said to you, right around our college football seminar. I'm like, hey, flying a day early and we're going to play golf, like basically every stop.
Yeah.
And we did. And do you remember going to K-State and playing golf there?
Yes. Yep.
And then what happened
We
to
played
us
Colbert Hills.
yes. And
Yeah.
and Jim Colbert met us
Yeah.
afterwards and we
Yeah.
went back to his house and he was just pouring drinks and I'm like, "Oh my God."
Oh, that's funny. That one I haven't thought about for a while. You know, there's a lot of things that happened at K-State I tried to forget about.
Well, that was a great segue. See, here you are as this broadcaster. You still have it in you.
Oh boy.
This podcast is all about, looking back at your time as a player and the stories, the relationships that you form over those years. For me, just looking back at your career, you grew up in Omaha, correct?
Yeah.
Was there ever a time that you were not going to go play in Lincoln?
You know, maybe. And really the reason was because I guess I didn't know for sure. And, you're getting letters from Nebraska, but they're not really telling you. I mean, they offered me a scholarship, I believe, probably about the same time that I was offered a scholarship by Notre Dame and Ohio State, but I had went to all their camps. And I had a teacher and a coach that was really a huge Notre Dame fan. So he was like pushing for me to go to Notre Dame. And then Ohio State, Walt Harris at that time was the offensive coordinator, I should say quarterback coach. I don't know if he's the OC, but he was the quarterback's coach. And so I went to all those places. And, at that time, Osborne was coach at Nebraska. It was John Cooper, the head coach at Ohio State. And then at Notre Dame, it was Lou Holtz. So it was interesting that in that time, I was told by Ohio State, they offered me a scholarship as an athlete. Same thing, Notre Dame said, hey, we'll offer you a scholarship, as an athlete. And they offered me right as I left their camp my junior season. So I was leaving my camp going into, I think it was going into my junior year. And I just said, I really want to make this, or actually before going to my senior year, I said, I want to make this decision before going into my senior year, just so I don't have to think about it. I can just focus on football. And then Nebraska had offered me a scholarship. It all happened about the same time, but they said, hey, we want you to be quarterback. And so it was an easy decision at that point because I didn't have to worry about what I was going to be doing. I knew I was going to be a quarterback. That's where they were going to play me. Osborne left. Frank Solich became the coach. I was in a heated battle. They ended up moving me to receiver for 2 weeks in Nebraska. So, I mean, what the heck, right? I mean,
oh no.
John Cooper, actually was fired that next year. Tom Osborne retired the next year and Lou Holtz retired. So it was like, man, should I went somewhere else?
Right.
I'm just
Oh
kidding.
my
Nebraska
gosh.
worked out just fine.
It did work out just fine,
Yeah.
but here you are. I mean, you're thinking you're going there as a quarterback. All these coaches are offering you scholarships. Now they all leave. Like, what's going through your mind?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. I knew that at Nebraska, when Tom Osborne retired, Frank Solich moved into that position and we did not lose any coaches. We picked up a couple new coaches. Because Frank was a running back coach, we picked up Coach Gillespie, Dave Gillespie at that time. And there may have been one other change on like the defensive line. But we had a very good staff, our offensive line coach, our defensive coordinator, those types of things were still in place. So it was important that the coaching staff stayed. And I know that Coach Osborne wanted it that way. And really that was huge. Otherwise, I mean, it could have been a complete change at that time at Nebraska with a lot of things, but I was very fortunate. Happy to, look, I go back and look at my career at Nebraska and it was amazing. I learned a lot about, especially that time in your life where you're 18 to 23 years old. You're going through a lot. And it was just a great experience. The coaches, the people around me, my teammates, everybody was a huge part of, the success that I had in Nebraska. People always say, oh man, great. You did so awesome. And I'm like, man, I couldn't have done it without the people around me, man. I had great trainers and coaches and nutritionists. Nebraska was so good to me. I did some good things, but wow, I had a great program that was the base the foundation of what I was able to accomplish, and I owe it all to them, you know. So it was a good ride.
It's a great story also because, I mean, yes, Omaha is not Lincoln, but you are that Nebraska kid. You go to Nebraska, you win the Heisman Trophy. I mean, you can't get more storybook than that. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Heisman Trophy, but I also want to
Mhm.
kind of go back because you told me on one of our very first trips, and that was at the Fox seminar. I remember we were going to play golf, and you told me a story about how you actually had your daughter
Mhm.
when I think you were a freshman in college. Is that right?
Freshman year
Freshman,
in football, so redshirt freshman year. So it would have been my
redshirt
second
freshman,
year in
yeah.
college. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So
20, way
you're
too young.
20 years old.
Yeah,
And I don't know if a lot of people realize that
yeah,
here you are, you had a child
yeah,
while you're playing football at the highest level. How did you balance the two
yeah.
of them?
Yeah, I think, um, you know, it changes your life. You know, it's a thing that, you know, you start to think a lot less about yourself and more about others, and so it just becomes a mindset. And you know, you have to put in more time. You have a family, you have a responsibility, and I think that really grounded me. I mean, it's real easy to go out and, you know, be with your friends, or, you know, do things that other players were able to do, uh but, you know, having a family kind of grounded me. So I'm very thankful for that, because honestly, I mean, it- who knows, right? I mean, who
Mhm.
who knows what the scenario would have been. So it was, in a lot of ways, is a blessing in disguise, honestly. And, you know, Lexi's an amazing person, and you know, I'm very thankful for our kids. You know, but it's, to me, there again, it was just, it was one of those things that, I think, you know, I was, you know, if you go way back, like before, you know, I came from a single parent family,
Mhm.
and I had a younger brother. My mom was working 3 jobs, and I was really responsible a lot for my younger brother. And so I had a responsibility of kind of understanding, you know, responsibility, and, you know, getting the jobs done, cleaning the house, making sure that there was something to eat, like, you know. So honestly, I mean, it wasn't like that difficult of a task for me. It was just like rolling through life. This is what we got to do, and this is how we got to make things work. And, you know, it became, like I said earlier, a mindset of getting the job done, and that kind of rolled over into football and my training and my mindset there.
How do you balance having a job, doing your schoolwork, doing your prep work for football,
Yeah.
having practice, having games, traveling, and having the family? All those things. How'd you
Yeah.
do it?
Man, I don't know. I
And
have no
what
idea.
what were the jobs that you were doing that were
Yeah.
not football related?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So I think I had a job at a financial firm. I was a runner for a law firm. I was a waiter, at a steak restaurant in downtown Omaha. I mean, all kinds of things that were just, you know, things that would keep you rolling, and bring in some, and it wasn't a ton of money, but it was just
Mhm.
enough. You know, you had to have some there, you know, you had to do your part. You know, my wife was working at the time too. So it was like, you know, I had, you know, not just football, but school, and then a job to, you know, provide. So, um, I don't know, man. It was just, that was a way of life. That was just what I had to do you know, to provide. So you find a way to do it. And, you know, I look back now, and it's just like crazy what, you know, I'm like thinking, man, it was like literally wake up and all day long and go back to bed. And that was my life. So there wasn't like a lot of free time. It's very similar to now, like kind of owning a business and having a
Yeah.
family, a bigger family. So it's just like, it prepped me pretty well.
That Heisman Trophy season, 2001, were you working other jobs during that season?
Yeah, I think at that year, it was downtown Omaha, the Passport. I was a waiter at that restaurant, and, you know, I mean, most of the time those were like seasonal. You know,
Yeah.
because, to be honest, like during the season, it would probably be impossible during the football season for me to have a job, just the commitment with school and football alone. So, but this was like a summer, you know, spring type of situation for me. But yeah, I was waiting tables, and but I got to, there were some cool things. You know, Kevin Costner came in, and, you know, and during the College World Series, so I got to meet some folks there that were pretty cool, and wait on people. So that was nice.
On the flip side, I got to imagine here you are, this Nebraska kid, you're
Yeah.
waiting tables, you're making this run to be the Heisman Trophy winner, and you're someone's waiter.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
they
I
must
got a
be
story
like,
for
wait,
you.
can I have your autograph? And here's
Well,
a tip.
yeah, true. It's funny because I think like what you're saying is like it's kind of unexpected to work like that, to do so much when you're spending so much time with football in school. But funny story is like one of the first tables I waited on, maybe like the first couple, they're like, has anybody ever told you you look a lot like Eric Crouch? And I was like, yeah, I've been told that before. And I just kept, serving it. They just did not think it was me. Right. So I thought that was kind of funny.
That's awesome. Let's talk about that 2001 season.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of wondered, and this is a special moment for me. I've been lucky with this podcast. I've had some incredible guests. You are the first Heisman Trophy winner on this podcast.
Thank you.
So, in that season, when did it first creep into your mind that maybe I have a chance at that award?
Yeah. Man, I think I did a really good job of not thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard not to, because that is the award. Especially if you start reading the newspapers and here's the top Heisman Trophy winners going into week 3, or it's the same stuff that goes on now. I kind of think at some point I was telling myself like I didn't want to win it in a weird way, just so that like I wouldn't think about it. And of course, it's not really your choice, man. You get voted this. So like at the end of the year, you're sitting in that chair, you got a solid chance. I don't know if there was a certain time I knew in my mind, like what I was doing at Nebraska, running option football, was a little bit different than what everybody else was doing. And I really truly didn't think that the people that were voting were going to see it that way. I think they would have, I thought they were going to see it more as like, there's just no way that I'll vote for a quarterback that's running the football this much. So when I heard my name, I was surprised. If you go back to that, it's like, I don't have very much emotion when it was said, because I think I was in shock.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have a speech prepared, or was it like, oh, I did not think this was happening?
I did not have a speech prepared. I think I had some things in my mind that I would say if I were called, but I wish I would have, because going up there, the one thing I wanted to thank the most was my teammates, and I forgot to do that. Make sure you write down and pull your list out and read your Heisman acceptance speech to all incoming Heisman finalists.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny that you mention your teammates, because, when we worked together, I remember you telling me a story about this one offensive lineman who was massive, who did not really know football. What was his name? And he picked up a D end.
Yeah. This was a funny story, because he was a hell of a football player. His name was Tony Finotti. He played with the Chargers, and he played a good amount in the NFL. But I just remember the guy was so big. Like he was like in our when we played Miami in the Rose Bowl in 2001. I walked by. He was weighing himself on the scale, and it said like 375. And I was like, man, I knew you were big, And I think he had a special helmet. I mean, but he was just so strong and so big. It was just like, woo-wee. Yeah, he picked up he was like his first practice on campus, and he picked up one of our like defensive ends who was probably a second team guy. Like this guy had been around for a while. Don't recall his name. Don't want to sound him out right now, but I don't think I remember who it was, but he picked him up and he just bang, 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 bang. He just headbutted him like 4 times. And I remember going back, and Coach Teneper, he looked up and he was just like, woo, okay. Yeah. What about that? We'll have to see that on tape. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think at that point he was like, yeah, we got to get this guy some more PT. He's going to play. He's too strong and to not be on the line in Nebraska when you're running, power football and option and attacking like we did in the rushing game.
So what was it like when you had him blocking for you?
We had a lot of guys. I mean, I hate to say this, like, no, actually, I'm happy to say this because this is what we had. But like, the guys at Nebraska were very, you know, aggressive guys on the run game. The weakness was the passing game, right? I mean, we didn't pass the ball a whole lot, but people knew what we were going to do. We were going to run the football, and usually this is, we line up this way, we go that way, and or run an option, and so you kind of know what's coming. It's like try to stop it. And that was like that in the 90s for Nebraska. So we were on the tail end of having a lot of great players. My freshman year all the way up to my senior year, we had some awesome linemen that had great NFL careers, and I was happy to be alongside them. I mean, my center Dominic Rayola played for the Lions for I'd say like 15 or 16 years. I got his jersey hanging right up here on the wall, and
Awesome.
so no, it was a great time.
The option, it feels like nobody runs that anymore.
Yeah.
But being the quarterback in the option, what are you looking at to decide if you're going to make the pitch or if you're going to keep it?
Well, I think if you dial it in right, you dictate to the defense. You don't let them dictate to you like what's going to happen. So that comes with speed, and that comes with a deliberate line of attack. And so, like for me, it was always if I depending on what type of option we were running, it could have been a triple option. So you're reading a 3 or 5 technique first, and then you're pulling it, and then you've got another guy on the outside that you're pitching off of. Sometimes that read is predetermined. You're just, riding the mesh fake, and you're not going to read it. And it's called, like block option, or you're just going to, read the tight end and the tackle, and then get to the outside, and wherever that pitch man shows up, you pitch it. So really it's about knowing pre-snap where your pitch is, who your read is going to be, and then trying to just take it to them as quick as you can so that you're not left in limbo. Like they'll try to slow play you, a defensive end or a read guy. But if you're deliberate about where you're going, he's going to turn his shoulders and have to play the ball. So, and that has a lot to do with angles coming downhill, attacking his outside shoulder. But a lot of it has to do with speed and making him make that decision very quickly. So if you're slow to get out there and you're dancing around, you're just buying that defense time to make a play. So it has to do with deliberate speed and angles. And that's the fun part of the game. That's why I loved it so much. And I did a lot of that in high school. I was prepared by my high school coach, Fred Petito at Millard North, to get places quickly. So that's kind of where I learned the craft, and then I was able to kind of refine it at Nebraska.
There's quickness and then there's speed.
Yeah.
And you had both. Speed, I think I read that in high school you ran a 10.3 100 meters.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
That's legit speed right there.
Speed is one thing. I kind of felt like when I had the ball in my hands, I wish I could have ran the 100 with the ball in my hand.
You were faster.
Yeah, like why is this guy carrying a ball right here? No, man, I ran track I liked to compete. I wanted to train. I knew that track was going to make me a better football player. And so that's why I did it in high school. I mean, I encourage all kids to do multiple sports. I think it creates more of a leadership atmosphere. You're putting in more time. You're working on different muscle groups, and I don't know. I enjoyed it. It really helped me with football. I even ran at Nebraska a few times, came out after a surgery or something in the off season. And I got out there right at the end of indoor track season. So right when they were kind of going outside, and I was like, man, these guys have been training all winter long and I am way far behind. So, but it was good to be out, and be on the track team and just, get outside. And again, you're working on that rotation of the foot, the heel, and, you're going through all the movements that, to gain length in your step, your gait, and just become stronger. And I knew that, look, man, I wasn't the biggest guy. I probably wasn't the fastest guy, but I really wanted to be. So I trained pretty hard to just be the best that I could when I was on the field.
Did you letter in track as well at Nebraska?
I don't know if I lettered or not. I'd have to go back and look that one up. Good question though.
I didn't realize.
I'm going to go look, but I think I came out. I think there's probably some rule about like getting out there in competition. I think I only competed a couple times. So I don't
But
know if that.
this is actually what I love about you is because you're so humble and you're so modest. Um, I mean, no, I'm being honest because when we worked together, you know, I would have friends come by and, we'd all hang out and they're like, dude, that guy, like, he won the Heisman. Like, he's the most down to earth person. And I would ask you, like, where's your Heisman? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like somewhere, like, whatever. Like, did you let her in track and field? Good question. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
Like,
man, I spent some time there. Maybe I took too many hits and I just can't remember.
well, that's the other part of it is that, a quarterback, especially in today's football, they are so protected and you
Yeah.
don't want to hit them. You don't want to take hits. But when you're an option quarterback, you're going to take hits.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
the mindset? Like knowing that I'm going to get hit. I'm going to
Yeah.
try to
You
avoid
have
it, but I'm going to get hit.
I think I learned to protect myself. I've been carrying the ball from an early age. I started football at, 8 years old, third, fourth grade. So I was carrying it for a while. And you learn how to fall. You learn how to, use your peripheral vision and see something coming. And you don't always all the time, but you certainly know what to start watching out for. And if you get held up in a pile, you try to get down with all your weight so you can get, you don't get stuck, in a pile. I've been injured that way before. So you just learn, don't try to turn your back and spin. Those are tough. Those are risky plays. Well, I did that against Colorado and Josh Sykes just, gosh, he got me good. But I actually loved that part of the game. The contact was probably one of the most important things to me about playing quarterback is that and it's a different mindset coming from a quarterback. I mean, really, this is probably one of those things we should put like, let's go find some option quarterbacks and do like a group podcast where we can all talk about that because it is different. And it's a more aggressive type attacking and you really have no regard for your body, like zero. Like you'll run into anything at any speed, regardless if your head's going to get knocked off or not. And I'm looking at these, like I'll stand on the sideline now and watch these games and I'm just like, I can't believe what people were probably thinking, taking these hits on the sideline. They're like, he's dead.
Yeah.
Hey, trainer, and I'd pop up, but that's part I enjoyed it. And I think it was really infectious, honestly, for what we were doing at Nebraska, because to watch your quarterback, run like a running back and, that's what we did, put your head down, stuff that you're taught not to do, but that's how we were taught to, that's how we knew the game, and the same thing on the defensive side. It was use that crown your helmet and you take that quarterback right on his chin and you try to get him out of the game, that was just what they were told to do. I'm so lucky. There's many times I thought I broke my jaw where my tongue went numb. They must have hit a nerve. I couldn't call a play.
Really?
So just stuff like that would happen. Seeing stars, that was like that was like normal.
Right.
Yeah. They call that a concussion now, Justin. That's what that is.
It's funny because Matt Hasselbeck was a guest on this podcast and he talked about Brett Favre and, getting a chance to learn from him. And he goes, Brett Favre would get hit. And the harder he got hit, the faster he'd get up and he'd get more fired up.
Yeah.
And just hearing you talk, was that like you? The harder you got hit, you're like, yes, all right, let's go.
100%, because like the minute that the defense thinks that they got you, then it's like the next play is going to be, worse. And so again, it came down to that mindset, the mentality of I'm taking this to you. And man, I got hit a lot hard, but I'm telling you, I think that there were very few times where they knew it. They knew it, like I would hide it very well. I pop back up and, say, hey, good hit, man. Or like pop up and say nothing and just smile and be like, ooh, and that would just like probably irritate them so bad. They're like, man, I just gave this guy my best shot and he got up and said, nice hit, or smiled at me. So anyway, I didn't talk a lot of garbage. I just played the game mostly. And there are very few times I probably got chippy, but anyway, it was just, again, I had some linemen that were chippy for me, so I kept my mouth shut and let them guys do it.
Yeah, I can imagine those guys are pretty protective of you.
Yeah.
I want to know what happens when your tongue goes numb and you can't make the play call in the huddle.
It was like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And they're looking at you like, huh? Time out. So yeah, it was interesting, but yeah, that happened a couple times. That's when you start going to like a big chin strap with the plastic cover, like the hard shell, and you don't play around with the little one anymore. And then obviously after I was done, they changed all the rules. No
Right.
2-a-days, you can't hit the quarterback, and anyway, I think it's kind of funny.
It's hilarious, honestly, and I mean,
I don't know how I
obviously,
made it. I'm still alive after all those hits.
who knows how many concussions you had?
Hard to tell. I would say there were probably a few. There's a few, but I mean, nothing that we're like, I mean, obviously I would have, if I had one, I wouldn't be able to go back to the huddle and call the play and do what I was doing. So it couldn't have been anything that I had one really bad one in 8th grade. Okay. And that was like the very last time that I like completely got knocked out. I got swung around by my jersey and I was 14 years old. And, I think you're more susceptible the younger you are. Because your brain's not fully developed and you're not all the way there yet. But like, that was the only time, and I still don't really like remember that day very well. We played a game. I remember very few things, but then I was on like, my parents were on, my mom was like watching me like for a couple of days, having to wake me up every hour to make sure I was good. And so that was kind of the protocol at that time. We're talking, 30 years plus now. So aging myself, Justin, but
crazy, man. It's crazy.
But yeah, that was it. I mean, college, pretty good. Professional, pretty good. But I walked away unscathed because I had about 16 surgeries from football, but they weren't like, I had 3 rotator cuffs, a couple knees, ankles, but it wasn't like I had a bursa sac in my knee that was pretty, that one bothers me a little bit. I was cleaning the gutters out the other day, going up and down the ladder, and woke up and said, holy cow, what happened to my knee? So apparently I'm learning ladders, up and down ladders, cleaning gutters is not a good thing for your knee if you don't have a bursa sac. So that's
note to self.
I'm writing all those down. So honeydews list that honey can't do that one.
Yeah, nope. Sorry. The bursa sac is not going to allow this to happen. You're going to have to hire someone.
Oh, shoot.
Oh my gosh. The injuries, it's part of the game. You mentioned Colorado before. I think we were at Colorado, and there's a famous picture of face mask that was not called.
Kansas State.
Oh, is that K-State?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Kansas State. That was. Oh yeah, I think. Did you point it out? It was in like the hallway of the hotel or something, or
I think so. Yeah.
Or I'm thinking the AD brought a gift bag for me, like it was in the hotel or it was in the booth. Mm-hmm. And I open it up and there's a DVD. It like says, I don't know, I forget the title of it, but it's a picture of me on the DVD with my head getting ripped off. I was like, yeah, that's a nice welcoming gift.
And if I'm not mistaken, you said it was not called for face mask.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it's a famous thing. They actually made like Sports Illustrated top 100 photos of the century. It was a no call. I have to say this. We probably win the game. I just have to say this if it gets called. But, it was it was an iconic time. I mean, Kansas State, I don't think it beat Nebraska in like over 30 years. So it was like a really, really big program win for them. I ended up playing with a couple guys that were on that team in the CFL, played with Michael Bishop and Jeff Kelly, the linebacker. And so we got to kind of talking and stuff quite a bit. And I became really good friends with those guys, but it was fun. Obviously the no call was, I'm telling you, I would say several times a year this gets brought up because of how around here anyway, but just about that play. And I even brought it into the work environment because we're working down in Kansas now. So I, went to an architect's office and there's some younger kids in there. And I'm thinking, man, there's a lot of purple shirts here. I think I'm going to I put up a picture before our presentation. So I just quickly put the picture up and I kind of welcomed everybody. And it was kind of like awkward. They're like, why does he have this picture up on the presentation? So I put a snapshot of me, I'm looking out the back of my jersey, and they're like, why, what? I said, welcome. Do you guys have any idea why I put that picture up there? Some of them were like, then I just let them talk. They're like, I've seen that picture. That's at the sports bar. And this one's like, yeah, I've seen that before. So they kind of knew what it was, but they didn't know that it was me.
Yeah.
In that uniform. And so it just kind of broke the ice. It was kind of fun to talk about the old times in that game. But it, it's about building relationships with people. So, I mean, really, it was just about to say something fun and get them engaged and kind of talking about something a little bit different than work. But yeah, it's a play that gets brought up a lot.
So, okay, this is kind of funny because you said when you were waiting tables, people were like, "Hey, has anybody ever told you you look like Eric Crouch?" And now you go down to Kansas
Yeah.
and they have no idea
Yeah.
that you're Eric Crouch, the Heisman Trophy winner.
Right.
Like,
I think some do.
yeah, I was gonna
Just
say, how do they not know?
Well, I mean, it's like anything else. One, I never expect people to know like that. It's just, but it really just depends on how you talk. Are they a sports fan? And then, the minute you say it, then they may go, oh yeah, yeah. Oh, sweet. Awesome. Like they knew it, but they just couldn't put it like together. And I actually think it's more fun when they don't know.
Yeah.
And you kind of can cruise under the radar a little bit. And that's more my personality too. I just want to know people I want them to get to know me for me and not really think about my football career and, some of those awards and things. So, I mean, I've got my teammates' jerseys and stuff up here. My mother-in-law has been on my butt for years to put up pictures of myself and stuff on my walls, and even my own mother and my wife. But I keep telling them, like, guys, I don't need those pictures of me on the wall. It's just not me. But then again, it's like, man, it was pretty cool. It happened. It was the more time. I'm almost coming up on my 25th year of Heisman trophies. So, it's time's gone by, and and I'm grateful for what happened to me, and maybe one of these days I'll maybe make a place in the house for the Heisman. I don't know. It just seems like a pounding the chest moment, and it should be.
It's something that I know you're proud of, and you should be proud of it because you are that is an elite brotherhood that you're in as a Heisman Trophy
Absolutely.
winner.
Yeah. I met some awesome guys.
I was going to ask, when you won and you're in shock, what was the, oh my God moment? Like, did this just happen?
Yeah.
Like, who was it that came up to you and you're like, wait, what? Like, we're in the same fraternity?
Yeah. A lot of guys, Tony Dorsett, Archie Griffin, Mike Rozier, Johnny Rogers, because they're from Nebraska. I remember them getting on both sides of me and calling us the Oreo cookie. I'll never forget. Oh boy. Oh shoot. But 25 years of getting to know other Heisman winners and their families has been really cool. And it's gotten me closer to to them. And I'm happy for that because like I grew up watching a lot of them, I grew up as like big fans and wanting to be them. Just the way they played the game and for being great and working extremely hard, but also having a really good talent for football and leadership too. I think, I think that just winning a Heisman, there's other things behind the scenes that have to take place. I don't think that trophy just ends up in your lap for just your talent. I do think there's some other reasons. So it's fun to hear the stories and get to know them guys. And I try to go back every year. I think I've only missed a couple of years of going back, and that was either while I was playing or I had some type of a off-season surgery that I just wasn't able to travel during the Heisman ceremony. So, but yeah, it's been great.
Who's a winner that when you met them, you're like, wow, exceeded all my expectations of who I thought they would be.
Yeah, exceeded all expectations. I don't know that I had expectations of what they should be. I just wanted to be around and get to experience like who they are. I think it was good that I didn't set an expectation. I mean, my expectations were, man, they were awesome football players. I knew them for what I watched on TV and when they were playing. I didn't really have an expectation on what their personality should be. But it's been fun. Some guys are more, they have a little more personality and talk and joke around, and they're easier to talk to than some of them. Some of them just, they may not. They're a little harder to get to know. So you got to kind of nudge them and ask them questions. They're quiet, but that's the challenge. And we've been doing some more things with the Heisman Trophy group. We've been having a summit in April that we go down to Florida and we all get together, just us, which we haven't had before. It's just the New York, and then everybody's kind of off doing their own thing, and then it's back to New York. And so we think that's, not enough. So the Heisman Trust has been tremendous in, putting us out, paying for things, getting us together for meetings and golf. And we spend 2 or 3 days together. Our wives can get to know each other and come with us, and they get to talk, have lunch. And and then what's come out of that is just a little bit tighter group that used to be before 9/11. There used to be a pretty tight group because the downtown athletic club was there, and then 9/11, the downtown athletic club was gone. And so that I think that people grew kind of apart. So that newer era of Heisman winners in the 2000, like my time and beyond, up until today and a lot of those guys are still in the NFL, right? So there's, from 2014 or somewhere in there, I mean, the last 10, maybe more years, if you go back and look at that list, quite a few guys are still playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Cam Newton just came out, he's doing some broadcasting. He's been at a couple of these events, get to know him a little bit more. He's great personality. Got to know Tim Tebow and Werfel and Billy Sims has always been great. Tony Dorsett's been awesome, and I got to know some of the guys that passed away, and guys like Dick Kazmaier. When I won in 2001, he was receiving his 50th. It's pretty amazing. Hopalong Cassidy, Paul Horning, those guys have passed. Rashawn Salam, I really got to know him, and Charlie White, who's passed away. And I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to meet these guys and get to know them and be part of their lives. So I look forward to the next 25 years or so.
So I'm gonna join your mom and your mother-in-law and your wife, and I'm gonna say you need to have that
one up.
because
This has got to come. This isn't right. We got to take that
because here's a deal. Like maybe you get your kids have kids and you've got the grandkids. Like they need to know, like grandpa.
I think my kids were like in their like later years of high school. They're like, "What did Dad do? Are you stupid, kid? Come on."
It's funny because I don't know if you know Jessica Mendoza, but Mendoza and I worked together, and she came on the podcast, and she won an Olympic gold medal.
Wow!
And she went one day to school to speak to her son's class, and her son goes, "Okay, Mom, when are you going to tell everybody that you're lying?" And she's like, "What?" And he's like, you weren't an Olympian.
Yeah,
she goes, "Because I never spoke about it."
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. No, I am telling the truth.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I think I get it a little bit. Obviously, that's kind of more in line with how I feel, but I didn't want to make it seem like that was everything that had to do with the game of life. It was more about how you got there and the way you treat people. And I'm more proud of like my kids, and I get people that tell me, "Man, your kids are great. I love talking to them." And, and you can tell they've been raised right. And, that to me is more of an accomplishment than even the Heisman Trophy winner year that I had, or the other awards, or playing football. It's just a really good feeling.
Yeah. And you're right. And you have a great perspective on life and what it means and what it's all about. And kudos to you for that. I need to go back to that 01 season though. When you look at it, what was the highlight for you?
I mean, it was honestly, I was really looking forward to being the best and winning the national title. A little team called the Miami Hurricanes kind of rolled into the picture at the end, but I mean, the highlight for me, honestly, I don't know, there's just one point in time. Winning the Heisman for Nebraska and for the team was really probably it.
You mean for the teammates that you forgot to mention?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Always got to keep mentioning them. They're important. I don't know. I just love the game. It's been good to me. I loved the competition in sports. The thing that I miss most, and a lot of guys say the same thing, is just like that camaraderie with your team in the locker room and being around them. It's no one says, man, I just really miss the game day. I really miss game day so much. It's like, yeah, I get that, but it's just the people around you, the team and your coaches and so like transition that to, the business world for me. It's about my, the staff and, team and a lot of my things that I do, I relate to sports with it. It's, we've got a team and we're kind of coaching them up and, I'm always trying to learn new ways to be great at what we're doing. So it's more of a, you have that lifestyle. It's something that you can use for the rest of your life, that, hard work ethic, having a plan, not, shying away from the hard conversations, having those conversations and getting things out on the table and hearing people's thoughts and mindset. And, I wouldn't be where I am today in my business venture without our employees. They're awesome. And I know we haven't even got to, that part yet, but it's like, they're just like my teammates, man. There's no way I could do this on my own.
Before we go on to the after football, I want to talk about one thing I've never even, I guess, thought of, and this is maybe selfish of me or what, but what was your teammates' reaction when you won the Heisman?
And they were pumped. I mean, they were pumped. But it was like business as usual. It was like, man, that's awesome. I came back. I just remember everybody being so happy. It was a good, and then not only that, we did not know. I mean, we found out we were playing a national title after, I think it was after or right before. It was like right at the same time, like that weekend. So like I come back with a Heisman Trophy and we're playing in the national title game. So I mean, that had to be pretty darn exciting for everybody. Yeah. So you can skip the next part, like where you're asking me about the national championship game, and we can go right into the,
That's fair.
No,
we won't talk about that. I do want to talk about you've talked about your job now and this and that, but you have a company, you and your wife had the company, but when we were working together, you were also doing some, I think, medical sales.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was looking back through my texts and I couldn't find it. And I'm really upset because there was one where like you just sent me a text and it's like about penile clamps. And I was like, what the hell is this? You got to explain.
I was in urology and women's health. So, let your imagination go crazy. It was just like, that was a fun part of my life, actually. I'm trying to think. So 08, 09, the economy took a little bit of a dip.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to, let anybody go from our company, and I thought that maybe it would be good for, actually, my wife's idea. She wanted to come help the company, and then I went and worked for a medical device company. So I've always had some passion for the medicine side. I was an exercise science major at Nebraska. So I grew up around doctors and hospitals, my mom being in radiology. So it was, I don't know, I felt like it was home to me being around the medical devices, and we had ins and stuff like that. So but what it did for me, I bought our recreation equipment company in 2004. And so 5 years later, I didn't know how to run a business, but, we were selling, but it did on a corporate level teach me a lot about, organization, a standardized way of like a sales process. And so if I go back, I learned a lot from the medical device company that I worked for. So again, I think everything happens for a reason. I had that opportunity. I had a great time with it. Still talk to a lot of the people that I met, doctors and, people that were on my team, my, direct report at that time, my sales manager, Rick, still, talk to him. And so it was a good part of my life. And then I think it was very similar to that time that I went into broadcasting. So, kind of more towards the end, like 2011, 12, got that, audition, that first job with Fox with you. So, and then I think it lasted another about 3 years, maybe 2015 might've been the last. So I did some work for CBS and ESPN, and I did a lot with the Big Ten Network. And so I was flying around doing all these shows and the studio stuff is okay. I really loved being in the booth on game day. There's just a lot more energy around that, and that brought me closer to the game. So it was a lot more to me like being on the field than it was like being in the studio. So anyway, probably went into that a little bit too much, but
no, I just want to know what the craziest story is from your medical sales history, because the fact that you sent me that text
can't be said.
Oh, it can be said. It can absolutely be said, because this makes it even that much better. Again, it just, honestly, it falls in line so well with your story, right? Like, again, going back to waiting tables as you're going to win the Heisman Trophy, and, people not knowing now in your business that you played college football, that you're a college football Hall of Famer and a Heisman Trophy winner. And oh, by the way, you were also a medical device salesperson, and here are the stories from there. I need to hear something good. No, I mean, it's the least you owe me for sending me a random text about penile clamps.
No, I carried around a women's pelvis in a box. It was like a rubber pelvis. Like, I know this, don't go there, Justin.
I'm not.
It was meant for training. So like we had products for, women's health, which was like basically like vaginal reconstruction and, different types of procedures that, for incontinence and things of that nature. So, and we dealt a lot with kidney stones. And so we had devices that would go get stones out. And, so I had to, it was a little humbling, go from holding up the Heisman Trophy to holding a rubber vaginal box that you're, it's like, okay, let's be honest here. Like, this is a complete transition. You talk about like football highlights and in the real world, but, so going in and like training and teaching doctors, and that's what the medical device reps do. I mean, this is real stuff. And, and then being in cadaver labs and getting them in there to get really hands-on with the cadaver type piece. So, that was interesting and, strange, because like the cadaver piece was just the pelvis. So when you start thinking about like, it's not the whole body and you just get sent, like you start to understand it, like why would they send you a body if you're just going to work on this part? But
right.
You just tip your hat to the folks that are out there allowing their bodies to go to research and development and, make these doctors and medical people better, which is pretty cool. So, it comes full circle. It does. It comes full circle. But I mean, anyway, it was an important part of my life. That's for sure. And
now, were you
taught me a
ever
lot.
Stopped going through security with the rubber pelvis?
No, I wasn't stopped. I was only stopped going through security with the Heisman Trophy. Whoa, stop right there. Cause it's like this.
Yes.
It's like a steel box. I mean, it looks like a bomb. Looks like I'm dragging a bomb into the airport, and it was 9/11. So I'm going home.
Oh gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa, what you got? Everyone's on high alert. Next thing you know, you pull out this Heisman Trophy and you're taking pictures with everybody. Like, get on the plane. You're good.
That's amazing. So. Oh gosh. All right. Well, I like to end all my podcasts with a segment I call This Just In. And it's some rapid fire questions. We may go longer depending on some answers. The most hostile environment you ever played in?
A&M. Texas A&M.
12th man.
Wait, 12th man. Yeah, 12th
Yeah.
man.
What
Yep.
was it about that?
It's loud. It was loud. And what they're doing with this movement, kind of messes you up. You start to, lose focus of the game because you're like looking around and it just kind of, it gets you a little bit. We lost. It worked.
The feeling of running out onto the field at Memorial Stadium in a sea of red.
Epic. I mean, it just, for someone who grew up in Nebraska and had a dream of, playing football and playing at the highest levels, I mean, it was a dream come true. And it was just a great feeling to run out there and have all those people cheering you on. Great fans in Nebraska.
What's it like seeing your jersey still worn by fans?
Surreal, really. I mean, you make an impact and you don't know what that's going to be to people. And someone sent me a jersey to sign here recently and I lost it, apparently. And I'm trying to figure out if I actually did lose it now that, did you really send me a jersey? No, I believe they did. So I pulled one out of my old archives of jerseys and signed it for them and sent it back, and they were pretty happy about that. So that's the type of fan and person and that that I admired about playing in Nebraska. Yeah. That they were they had my jersey. I mean, that's pretty cool. Someone gets excited to put my jersey on. It has my name on the back. That has the red N, and it pretty darn cool.
What's the game that you think about when you can't fall asleep at night that puts a smile on your face?
Definitely not Kansas State. My head got ripped off. One gets me fired up. Honestly, playing in South Bend, we won that game in overtime. It was an amazing game. We were ranked pretty high, maybe 1 or 2 coming into that game. And, just the aura of Notre Dame football in that whole program and going out on that field. And, I watched them spraying the helmets when we got there on Friday night, which was really neat to see. And it turned into the most amazing football game. It, like a lot do at Notre Dame. For some reason, they turn into football games there. And this one was a battle. We jumped up and they came back and went to overtime. We're losing. And I ended up scoring the last touchdown in the corner. It was an amazing. So, that game is pretty cool. Just being on the road in Notre Dame Stadium. I saw a poster that was printed up, and for so many times I thought it was Memorial Stadium. And, and I just remember someone kind of pointing right there, what are you pointing at? This is Memorial Stadium. What are you pointing at? And it was touchdown Jesus in the back. And so, oh my gosh, this is Notre Dame. So
it's funny.
That was pretty cool.
I was about to ask you, when you scored that touchdown, did you look up and see touchdown Jesus?
I was getting spit on. I was looking down so I could get a loogie in the eyeball. I was in the student section or something over there, man. I was getting things thrown at me, and it was wild. Go back and watch that one.
I will. I'm going to have to pull it up.
Now it's not high def. No, I'm just going to.
This is pre-high def.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to watch that. What is the best perk about being a Heisman Trophy winner?
I mean, honestly, just having that tag on your name. I mean, it's, a lot of times I rarely get introduced just as myself. It comes with the tag Heisman Trophy winner, and that it's a pretty hefty tag there, and something that, I mean, as much as I like it or don't like it, I mean, it's going to be with me the rest of my life. And so I think that's the perk. The perk is you get put in that group, and you start looking down the names of the list, and you go, whoa, you're in a pretty select group there. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Also pretty sweet. You just had a name, a road named after you, I think at your high school.
I did. Yeah. I was talking about surprised, that's one that just hits a little closer to home, we talk a lot about, how hard it was in college to do the things that we were able to do as a team and a program. But then you go back to high school and you start thinking about this started when I was, 13, 14 years old, and, coming up on summers, 2 and 3 times a day, to work out. Like I just remember we'd come up early, like 6 o'clock, and then we'd be back at 10 or 11, and we'd come back at 3, and we were just super obsessed with like football. We just loved it. And so did our coach. I mean, he was a football junkie, and I loved it. He got us ready to go, and got us excited about the game. And honestly, like even back to the very first coach that I had in Pee Wee football, George Conley, calling me quick feet, and it, it just something so small, like a coach just saying something like that to you and you believing that you have quick feet, which was amazing. Cause like I was size like 14. So my feet I didn't think they were fast at all. These things were flopping around, like what are these clown boots, but it just goes way back to, certain aspects of your life and the coaches that you had. And I had great ones, all the way through. And that's, goes back to that naming of that street. And what I was really surprised about, honestly, is that the street was named. So it's a major street in West Omaha in front of the high school, but they've got it from one intersection past the school. So it's really the whole frontage. And I thought it was just going to be like, I mean, I had no idea what this thing was going to be, but I was like, yeah, you have a street named after. So I thought it was like just the turn into the school. They were going to put a sign there, but they put 2 signs up, one on the busy intersection and the one that goes right past the school entrance on the north side. And I was just like, man, that's really neat. Like, and for me, honestly, I just, I hope that people see that as a way that they can believe in themselves too. That's really what it's meant for. And they see that is that I was just a kid, from Omaha that, had real life, we were on food stamps. We were a single parent family. My mom was a hardworking, my dad was super, blue collar, bricklayer, worked for the union. Like you can make it, like it, you don't have to have a Heisman Trophy or have anything special. You can make it happen. Just got to believe in yourself, And so, I'm really, really honored that the city and the school and honestly, my English teacher, my sophomore football coach, and the principal at Millard North advocated for me because, like, you don't advocate for your own street,
right.
And so he pushed it. He pushed it for a couple of years, and I think that was really nice of him to do that. Especially, he was the one that wanted me to go to Notre Dame.
Oh,
yeah.
And you go on the road and you beat Notre Dame with that touchdown.
So maybe that's what did it. Maybe he's like, this guy needs street after that one.
Well, I was watching the video, and what I thought was really neat were all the students there.
Yeah.
And when you pulled the curtain off, just seeing their reaction. I mean, that place was packed. Yeah. And I think it's going to accomplish what you want it to. I think they all see that and they realize, dreams are possible.
Yeah.
And every day that someone drives on that road, they're going to think of you, what you accomplished, and say, you know what, maybe I can too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it was a wonderful moment in my life. And, I haven't had the chance to really drive by the street yet and kind of look up there from my car window. But I am going to do that.
Yeah. Well,
soon, maybe today.
Whoa, a little motivation. I love it. This is great, dude. It has been way too long. I think back to that first season that we were together.
Well, that was Fox's first year of doing college football.
It was. So they had done some football, but if I'm not mistaken, we were on like FX sometimes. Yeah. We were kind of all over. I remember, I think it was week 2. We had Miami at K-State.
Yeah.
And my buddy Phil Nevin came to that game, and he was in the booth. So we just had some good memories. I mean, doing games at Cal, we had the discount double check picture for Aaron Rodgers.
And Darius, he still works for, he's doing
CW, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, one of the, he was doing sideline. One of our friends, actually our stats guy, Ed Svita, and our spotter, Bill Garrity, they still talk about one of the reports. It was raining wherever we were. And I throw it down to Darius for an update. He's like, Justin, it's wet. Back to you.
Rookies. Oh
But
my
man,
gosh.
that was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
the reason why I had this podcast is because of these relationships. And you and I haven't spoken in a long time. And
Yeah.
I reached out to you, sent you a text, said, "Hey, would you want to do this?" And you're like, "Absolutely, let's do
Yeah.
it." That's what makes this industry so much fun. It's what makes sports so much fun. You mentioned the camaraderie with your teammates.
Yeah.
You're my teammate,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And
That's right.
you'll always be my teammate. And so I really appreciate you doing this, Crouch. You are as modest as they come. And
Well,
I understand now why your kids have grown up the way they have, and
oh,
why
thank you.
people say that about, what great kids they are, and how much of a difference they're going to make in society. It's because of the leadership, for from you and your wife, and being as humble as you are. It's those Midwest roots that you
Hey, we'll
guys
keep
got.
pushing on them. We'll keep pushing on them. So if you
Yeah.
ever, when you start having a family, you just let me know.
Oh, I will. I'm going to
We'll
send them out to
get them out
Nebraska.
for a couple of weeks and we'll get them right.
Yes, thank you. That's a big help. I'm going to keep you to that.
Yeah.
But honestly, man, congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
Congrats on the business, and keep doing your thing. I always look for you at the Heisman ceremony. I'm like,
Yeah.
there he is. There he
Yep.
is.
Yep.
And I'll be looking again this
as
year.
I move down to the older side of the stage.
Hey, you know what? Your hair is still as good as it's ever been. I mean, that is something to be jealous of.
It just does what it wants. I don't know what's doing today, but it's what it is. Hey,
Well,
you're not
you're a
doing too
lucky
bad there
man.
either after 15 years, shoot.
Yeah, it's
All
not
right.
you. I'm just trying to hold on.
Oh,
You
shoot.
there, you're like, yeah, it's great. But no, in all seriousness, dude, thank you for doing this. And let's be in touch. Let's get together.
For sure. Yeah.
It's been way too long.
I agree. Well, golf game or
Awesome, man.
something.
Let's do it. Sign me
Awesome.
up.
Well, thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it. Good catching
thanks,
up.
man. Talk to you soon.
All right, man. See ya.